Welcome back to WABJ News. Plans to close a high-profile D.C. facility have not stopped Congressional Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton. She's lobbying her colleagues on Capitol Hill and wants them to slow down or even reverse the decision to close Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Northwest Washington. In an interview with WABJ News, the delegate said it makes no sense to close the hospital dedicated to soldiers, especially with military conflicts still going on.
It is insane to even talk about closing the nation's premier military hospital in the middle of a war. Enough said. We have a Democratic majority. I can't say that we won't get a new hospital at some point in time, but that is certainly not going to happen anytime soon. So we are sitting right on Walter Reed for, we think, at least a decade and probably a lot more.
The delegate expressed her views following a press conference with students in the Washington Post Young Journalist Development Program, along with our own WABJ Journalism Workshop. The event took place at the Washington Post.
It's that time of the year. Are you making plans to attend college this fall? Is the thought of how you'll pay for school stressing you and your parents out? As WABJ's Dominique Stroud reports, you're not alone.
With the rising cost of tuition, seniors are working hard to prepare themselves for this change. With the help of the free application for federal student aid, better known as the FAFSA, where the federal government gives out money to numerous students who display financial need to help pay for college, some students still come short of cash.
The cost of college never ends. There's always going to be stuff to pay for. There's always going to be little things that you need.
But the FAFSA isn't the only way to pay for school. Colleges and high school teachers encourage students to apply for scholarships, take out loans, and receive grants from the school they plan to attend.
Many of them aren't aware that there are a lot of organizations out there willing to give them money if they are good students and they have a dream and they're aspiring to be something. The other downside, however, is that some students fall in what we think of as the middle category, where their parents don't have enough money to just pay for college without any help at all, but they also feel that they aren't needy enough to get a lot of money from the government. For those students, scholarships become particularly important because they really need to explore those options.
In order to get some extra cash for school, Tyra White plans to work through the summer as well as take on a work-study job.
As of right now, I'm working at a donut and coffee shop, better known as Dunkin' Donuts. Right now, I'm working at one located in Upper Marlboro, but the money that I get from there, I'm going to save it to use for books, miscellaneous expenses that may occur. And after the summer is over, I'm going to transfer to one that's closer to my university. So that way I'll still be able to work part-time through college. So that way I'll still be making income. I'll still be able to pay for whatever I need to pay for.
As far as students who are currently in college, this is how they plan to stay.
I mean, I got lucky with doing ROTC, and the Air Force gave me, $7,500 a semester, so $15,000 a year. So, I got lucky, but I had to serve after I finished college, so that's the catch.
Some schools you can lock it in if you pay.
GW locks it in. It doesn't rise. Once you're a freshman, that's all you'll pay. All 4 years.
Do you guys wish it was like that here in America?
Yeah. But it's way more expensive there anyway. It doesn't even matter because they're paying $10,000 more anyway.
Currently, George Washington University is the first university in the nation to raise their tuition to $50,000.
The bottom line is that when you're looking at $40,000 and $50,000 GW and American, it's a lot of money to spend to be educated, and you don't have a choice as to whether or not you can afford to be educated. You need to be educated in order to be a successful individual. So you're being forced into a situation where you have to spend a tremendous amount of money just to be able to compete in the business world.
If the trend of rising tuition continues, scholarships may become even more competitive, and some students will have no other choice but to take out more loans. Dominique Stroud reporting for WABJ News.
Well, here's another sure sign of spring in Washington, the annual Cherry Blossom Festival and Cherry Blossom Parade. Kids of all ages came out for this year's march down Constitution Avenue. Despite a few raindrops, thousands of spectators lined streets as marching bands from schools in D.C. and around the country showed off their skills. The parade is a yearly highlight of the historic festival.
The First Amendment, freedom of speech, the history of journalism, these are some themes celebrated in D.C.'s newest museum. It has been 6 years in the making, but the museum has finally opened its doors in the nation's capital. The new digs opened in April with a day of celebration and long lines just waiting to get inside for a peek. Our own Antoinette Miller was there and tells us that it was worth the wait.
It's big, bold, and full of history. The opening of the long-awaited museum brought out the news fanatics and raised quite a stir on Pennsylvania Avenue. And news fans from all over the country were on hand to be among the first to visit.
Well, I enjoyed the exhibits and with in the little theaters with the dialogue, explaining it.
Like the 9/11,
yeah,
the 9/11 theater, the Edward R. Murrow exhibit. I think maybe things that we can identify with that we saw happening in history, and then to see it here. And being news junkies, I read the newspaper every day, and I watch broadcast news every night.
The museum is designed to help the public get a better understanding of the news. It gives you a behind-the-scenes look at how and why news is made.
I think it's great. We haven't seen everything yet, but we did the White House reporter right there, and he was a star reporter. He was blushing. I think it's a great place, and I think it teaches everybody how news is gathered and what's important about it.
Here's a scoop. The museum has only been open 2 days, and already it's a hit. 11,000 people were said to have gotten in yesterday before they shut the doors. Unfortunately, 3,000 were turned away. The good news for them, they were all given free passes to return.
We got lucky that we got the ticket. I got to come back today. It's great. It would be even worth the $20 admission fee. Probably bring back my husband, who's staying with my daughter in Chicago right now.
Program director Rich Foster says it's hard to pick a favorite exhibit.
I can't give you a favorite exhibit because I love every exhibit at the museum. Each day I find a new exhibit that goes to the top of my list, from our news history gallery, where you can trace the evolution of news from the earliest forms of communication right on through to the internet age, to the internet radio and television gallery that traces the evolution of electronic journalism, to our front pages exhibit, where every day you can see a newspaper from each of the 50 states and from countries all around the world, and in our database that has another 500 or 600 newspapers from around the world. All of them I love. Our Berlin Wall gallery, our 9/11 gallery. It's just every day I come into this place and I've got a new favorite one.
I'm Antoinette Miller for WABJ News.
The museum is open every day of the week except during holidays. Admission is $20 for adults and $13 for children ages 7 to 12. And we're pleased to be broadcasting today from the museum's own state-of-the-art studio. I can't wait to tour the place more myself. Have you had a chance to tour yet, Elijah?
No, I haven't, but I will when we're done. Coming up next, the Nationals opened their new stadium and March Madness grips American University. Andre Ellis will be here with the Sports Report. Stay with us.